Hello everyone, welcome back. We have a very important topic today with the reprinting of the reserved list. And I want to talk to you about what this means from the perspective of a collector, an investor, and a player, of which I am all three. I think there's very different perspectives going around. There's all kinds of news and all sorts of channels across Reddit, YouTube, Facebook groups. It's all over, and I'm seeing tons of differing opinions about this. And I just want to lay out what I think is really going to happen, having seen over the course of the industry all kinds of different changes in collectibles and things like this. And along with that, I'm going to reveal a very rare sealed item under this box that is in my collection, and I'll go over that, but I want to talk first about the topic and leave the opening for the suspense later. So first, is this a violation of the reserved list? I'm in the camp that it actually is, and the reason is that we've been lied to. Over the course of the player and collector commentary about the reserved list on Blogatog, which is Mark Rosewater, the head designer of Magic, who's been there since 1996, I believe, his blogging open forum response platform. And on there, he has been asked on several different occasions what would violate the reserved list, or how, what does the reserved list entail? And there have been official changes to how the reserved list is managed over the years, so let's start kind of from square one. What is the reserved list, and why did it come about being? Well, the reserved list really came about due to a backlash of the fact that this is a CCG, collectible card game, and collectors complained that they were worried that this is, the first big collectible card game. They want to collect them all and save them and nurture their investment over time. And Wizards came about with Chronicles, which was essentially just a reprint of former sets, and reprinted all those cards. And that tuned collectors into the fact that Wizards can just reprint their cards and lower the value of the collections that exist. That was the response that came about. I think this was around the time of the Urza's block. I'm not sure exactly when the reserved list came in place, but the Urza's block was the last block to include cards in the reserved list, so Mercadian Masks onwards did not have reserved lists, so it must have been the Urza's block that the reserved list was really instantiated. Alright? And it was a legit concern that really grew the card game. The concern was people couldn't collect because they don't know what Wizards is going to do in the future with reprints, and they needed to have some promise of stability that their investment would not just go ahead and be reprinted. So the reserved list was a list of cards that Wizards promised they would not reprint in the same functional form. So the card could not do the exact same thing. It didn't mean they couldn't make better cards. They could make cards that were just strictly better if they wanted to. In fact, I think you've seen that over the years as well. There are cards that have been almost reprintings of the reserved list that have been in better form. That's fine. The reserved list was also, over time, clarified to mean that it is not supposed to be reprintings that are of gold-bordered cards, that came along with other editions, like we had the collector's editions cards, we had the decks, the World Championship theme decks that were gold-bordered. Those cards, could they reprint Black Lotus in gold-bordered? Mark Rosewater on Blogatog replied with, no, gold-bordered is not a way to skirt the reserved list. We cannot reprint cards with a gold border and call that okay. Next is, what about different backs? If it doesn't have an actual Magic card back, those are not tournament legal cards. Can you make them non-tournament legal with different Magic backs? And Mark Rosewater again said, no, you cannot do that. Well, although I'm not quite sure Mark Rosewater's personal feel. I don't want to speak to him about this product or the reserved list in general. I do get the feel from his response, he at least publicly did say he does not like the reserved list but it was a promise that Wizards made a long time ago, and they intend to keep to that promise, and so he feels responsible to keep to that promise. But Wizards also needs to excite the community with its collectible cards, and also sees a need to make them more accessible to Commander players, for instance, so especially with dual lands, things like that. And they are held to doubling their profit over the course of the next year. Or sorry, a 50% increase in profit, which is a mighty goal to grow 50% in profit over a year. And I think you've seen their doubling down on that effort of profit with the increased amount of products they're putting out every year, along with the quality that they've cut back on the product. So cost savings, so more revenue and more cost savings combined can give you potentially a 50% profit increase. Now, I don't blame Wizards for this. Their company, they need to do whatever they can for profit. It is up to the players to kind of say their feel about it. Do they feel like the cards are not good quality? The fact that the card stock has been worse. You've sometimes got multiple of the same cards in a pack. Sometimes your rare slot would be all in a collector's edition pack. I think this happened with, was it Kamigawa or... one of the recent ones, you got all the same really worthless rare in a pack supposed to be containing a bunch of different rares, and this was a printing error that happened across a large variety of the collector's edition packs. Things like that have been coming up, and are a problem that we should speak out about. But Wizards is going to keep on making profit, and good for them. That's what you need to do as a company. But I do feel that this is a reserved list violation because of the fact the promises that we cannot skirt reserved list by saying it's a gold bordered card. Well, they're not. Or you can't by changing the backs and calling them not tournament legal, which that is a violation. So I do think it violates the reserved list. Now, I sound like I'm completely against this product. Spoiler alert, I am not completely against this product. I just happen to think it's a violation of the reserved list, but it is probably the best violation possible. All right? I am not against the fact that they are making non-tournament legal brand new versions of the cards. They should not reprint them in a tournament legal function. I think that would be a violation that could potentially hurt the collectors. I also am not against the fact that they're doing this in a very rare manner. I would not be happy if they reprinted all the cards in a collectible set that you could get, that you could pay, say, $100 for and get all the beta cards, right? This, instead, is a gambler's set. You pay $1,000 to get 4 packs of a set, and this is not for the normal, regular player. This set is for the gamblers. While I did play poker, for a living for a while and to pay off my education, I do not consider myself a gambler. I don't really play slot machines. I might occasionally go and put $20 down on that, or, play, up to $50 in craps or in blackjack or something like that. But I'm not putting down any real money that I need for any of that, and don't really like gambling. So you won't see me opening any of these packs because I don't like to gamble. Now, for those that do want to gamble, this could be way more fun than going to the casino and blowing $250, right? You can instead buy a pack and open that and maybe get a chance to get a Black Lotus. People are going to open that up on YouTube, the Black Lotus, and bring more people into the old school chase, and it is going to raise demand for the old cards. If it was really cheap, it could wipe out the market and make them, extremely cheap, because if you can get a Black Lotus for really, really cheap, and everyone rushes to that, the old ones might go down in value. Now, of course, supply of the old cards is going to increase, but they will be expensive to get. I'm sorry, but they're not going to put a Black Lotus in every one of these packs. People are going to open up these packs and get, the majority of the time, a disappointment, quite frankly. They made the dual lands double as popular as all the other rares, so you'll open up a lot of dual lands, and I think that's on purpose. That is going to increase the supply for the player, so the player does get something out of this. The normal player should not go spend $1,000 on a case of this, or a box of this, or $250 on even a pack of it. You're not, as a player, a normal player, trying to spend that money on this. That is for the gamblers. What you will get is, on the secondary market, more availability of dual lands. So I do think this hurts collectors of dual lands, because a lot of players, especially commander players, are looking to get their dual lands and play with them without making proxies, and this will flood that supply a little bit more than the other cards. Now, it also, I think, increases demand for it as well, so it'll be interesting to see kind of the balance there of how much the demand goes up versus how much the supply goes up, to see what happens on the market value of cards. But your Power 9 are not going to be opened up anywhere near as often, and supply will not go up more than demand. At least that's what I believe to be the case. So I do not think this really hurts collectors. If anything, this makes for a good scare opportunity. The market's down, people are scared. Go and buy reserved list cards. That, I think, is... now is kind of the opportune time, because people aren't sure what's going to happen. Now, I'm not saying I know the future. This is my guess, like everybody else's. But I do think having a pack that can be opened up that is still really expensive will bring the box openers, the whatnotters, the YouTubers, into the old product and interested in Power 9 again. I have been a little bit worried that the old collectibles are more just for the aging generation and have not brought in the younger generation yet. And I think this is a product that will bring in, not this here, I'll reveal that in a second, but the Magic 30th Celebration product is going to bring in the newer generation. Or it'll re-excite some of the older generation that hasn't been as excited about it because, quite frankly, alpha packs, beta packs, unlimited packs are too unaffordable. But it is a game of upgrades. Once you see that people are opening up these old cards, people are going to want to get the originals. So I'm sorry, the fact that a new version of a card exists does not completely outweigh the age and the collectability of the old cards. This is why alpha is way more expensive than beta, usually, 2 to 4 times as expensive, and beta is 2 to 4 times as expensive as unlimited, and unlimited is way more expensive than all the other versions as well. They're all the same cards, right? But it is about the version, the collectability, the scarcity, and the fact that over time, as you collect, you're always going to want to go for upgrades. So this is kind of the starter drug, quite frankly, of Magic, right? And they've done it in a way that will not flood the market of all these old cards. So I do think they took the best way of doing it. I'm not happy they went behind people's backs and effectively did break their promise to the reserved list. But if they were going to do so, doing it in this way, I think, is a good way of doing it. And I think this will ultimately help all 3 sectors of the community. The collectors who want to see the value of their reserved list cards get more popular, get higher demand, get relevant again. And they can also collect a new version of the cards. The investors that want to see those prices pumped up with that demand. And the players, although I will say the players are last, which I think is why they're the biggest community, which is why there's so much outrage, because most players are not going to buy the packs. In fact, if I buy any box, I'm not going to open it. I would keep it sealed because, again, I'm not a gambler. This is for the gamblers on the primary market, and then the secondary market is where the players will benefit. The cards that are not the Lotus or the Boxes or Power 9, cards like the Dual Lands will become more readily available for you to buy up. So, again, doesn't take away from the value of the original cards. The original Dual Lands are going to be more sought after, more expensive, things like that. But if you're a player who doesn't want the expensive version of it, that is willing to play with a not tournament legal Dual Land, you will get your opportunity from this set. So that's my thoughts on all of those. Yeah, I guess there's not really much else to say there except maybe reveal what I have here. Under this box is some of the rarest sealed product in Magic that exists. All right? No, it's not Alpha Beta Unlimited. That sealed product is pretty much out of reach at this point. This is pretty out of reach, but kind of is the first version of the Magic 30, right? But I don't think it'll go down in value because it was printed 30 years ago and is the very first version of the product for collectors. So underneath my handy-dandy Haribo box of candies is Collector's Edition and International Collector's Edition. Now, to give you a sense of how rare these are, they only made... they were going to print 10,000 Collector's Edition, but the printer shorted them 1,000, so only 9,000 were ever in existence. And of the International Collector's Edition, which is considered more highly sought after, I mean, I guess the demand for collectors is higher, but the scarcity of International Collector's Edition is higher scarcity, lower quantity. There's only 5,000 of these that were ever printed. So we are looking at some of the rarest sealed boxes in existence. And just give you kind of a little look at these. Inside them are all the beta cards, but in a square cornered card, okay? Like they're harsh 90-degree angle corners. What happened is, first of all, because it was printed so long ago, people just opened it, right? Who's kept them around sealed for so long? There's so few. I've seen only a few boxes of either of these on the market. In fact, the last ones that I saw sold at auction sold for, it was over a year ago. It was April 2021 is the last one I could find selling at auction. And it was for, I think it was $28,800, so nearly $29,000 per box. Okay? And I think I saw one International, one Collector's Edition sell, and they're both in that same price range. Now, they're not worth that anymore. They have gone down. And especially with this announcement, I don't know, it's hard to see it go down because there's so few of these that there's not any available that are selling to reference. Like I said, the last auction was over a year ago. But I do expect technically the value would have went down because people are scared of what's going to happen to these. Now, I am not scared of it. I think that these will hold their value for the same reasons I mentioned before. People are going to want the originals. And they're super rare. So, these in value, I mean, it's, like I said, it's hard to really compare. I've seen buy lists for these around $18,000. So actually what they sell for on the market, well, Card Kingdom has it for $25,000. I expect that they would typically sell more like around the $22,000 mark. But that's, that's the original, the original Magic 30, right? It's the Magic 1 Collector's Edition. So, hanging around the Collector's Edition community, now they are a biased community, because they're invested in the singles of Collector's Edition. They think their cards are going to go up in value for the reasons I mentioned, the chase. I'm among them. I don't know for sure, so we will see. But if history repeats itself, that's what tends to happen whenever something becomes cool again. So this is becoming cool again with new supply. But like I said, people are going to open this up on Whatnot on YouTube, and everyone's going to get that itch of wanting some of these old cards, the originals, the best, and age and scarcity definitely play into the value of them. It's a really cool set. Really glad that I was able to get these couple of boxes here. They're super rare to be sealed. So many people had, because of the square corners, cut the corners to try to play with them, and they just absolutely butchered the product. They were meant to be their square corners, and it's really hard to find good condition of them anymore. So I do think condition matters. Like, if you do decide to invest in any of the collector's edition or international collector's edition cards, right now, because of the dip, I would pick up, lightly played and above. Try to go near mint. They're hard to find, but that's kind of the point, guys. So I guess I'll leave it at that. I just wanted to share my thoughts, kind of uniquely as somebody who does play. I do not tend to play the older editions, I will say that, or Commander. I've only played one game of that. It was a lot of fun. But I don't have Commander decks built, so I guess on the play side, I am more into the standard, the recent drafts, sealed deck type of thing. But I am a player, I am a collector, I am an investor, and I just wanted to kind of give some light into what I see into the market, because I've heard all different kinds of perspectives, and there's been a lot of backlash to Magic 30, and I think the backlash is from the community that the product wasn't meant for. So, alright, let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.